Hi everyone. So I am from Wolverhampton originally and moved to London when I was 18 to pursue my dreams, working class girl from Wolverhampton, moving to London with nothing, hoping to make it as a photographer. But I always knew that I was really interested in famous people, famous faces, fashion, beauty. So I was drawn to London that way. And actually, it did help. My older sister was already in London doing her degree. So I just thought, great, I'm going to do what she does. And luckily, got into university down there and moved to London. So it is really personal and special for me to be asked by Andy to come up here and come back home and tell you a little bit about my journey. And then and Andy, I do want to mention you because I did a little bit of work experience for you, and I can't. This is why I'm a creative person, because I can't work out the math. But I was 16 or 17. I'm now 38, almost 39. So how many years ago was that? I don't know. But it is people like you, and I, are now at a point in my career where, I welcome people and I want to share, what I've learned in my journey, and it is thanks to you that, because when you're studying, it's great, but it's not until you actually get out into the real world and you see how an artist or photographer or whatever you want to call us actually works, and you see their space, that you really start to think, okay, well, is this my destiny? Is this what I want to do? Is this for me? And then Lee down here, we used to work at Jessup's, didn't we? When I was 16, 17, 18, I can't remember. So anyway, it is really personal for me today to actually be here, so thanks for asking me. So I feel like I've already done my intro in a way, but it has been a journey, and it's funny, Tina, you when ranking flashed up on the screen, because I went to LCC and did a photography degree, but I didn't love it because it was very theory-based. And I do like the theory side of art and photography, but I was always very, very practical and always really hands-on, always wanted to create, hold the camera, move lights around, direct. That was just what I loved to do. And it didn't really let me flourish that way. But what my degree did do for me was connect with like-minded people and give me opportunities in different ways. And one of the girls that I was living with at the time, Hess, she said, well, Rankin's looking for a new assistant. I was coming to the end of my degree. Why don't you go and see? Why don't you do an interview with him? Here's the contact, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what? I knew it wasn't easy to work for, but I thought, I'm not going to, not go for the interview. This would be an amazing opportunity if I got it. Anyway, I went for the interview, got the job, and ended up working for him for just shy of 4 years. So, as you can imagine, I'm very grateful for that experience, because I went from having, just being a student to then all of a sudden flying across the world, working, on these big shoots with Nike and all these A-list celebrities and all these people on a shoot. I have no idea who they were. I was like, what? What's the copywriter? What's the art director mean? So, after being in that environment after 3 or 4 years, you get quite comfortable with it, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh, I think I could do this for myself now. But when I left, it really was in a weird way, it felt like I was starting from scratch again, because you get sucked into this crazy world that's sort of here, as wonderful as it is. I've been shipped away left, right and centre on these shoots, but then you leave and then you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, it's just me. Just me and my laptop and a little cheap camera. So here we go, but what are we going to do? So I just did everything I possibly could with all my power to connect with as many people as possible, and just every bit of money that I made, I would invest it straight back and test shoot. And I actually still do that today, and I will get to that point in a minute. I'll shoot for Vogue, I'll shoot for Elle magazine, Harper's. I launched my own publication last year called Defined, which is a one-to-one collaboration between myself and the talents who I would like to feature on that particular month. And then my more commercial work is I will get paid to shoot for beauty brands, fashion brands, that sort of thing. So very similar to what Tina does. I've got my kind of my raw kind of editorial stuff, which I can really kind of get stuck into creatively, and then the commercial stuff is, and I actually love both, but they're very different ways of working. So anyway, I do talk a lot, and I am waiting for you guys to be like, come on, Rachel, because I do want to, I'm really passionate, I want to get to the point. So tradition meets modern. The only way that I can really answer it or talk about it really is just what my values and what it means to me and what I've learned along my journey. So this is kind of what it's about. And then this one here. Here we go. Already done that. So when I was really thinking about what tradition means to me, this was the easier part. It's the modern bit that's not so easy. But when I think about tradition aspects of my work and my process as a photographer, it's very much. You would look at my images and you would think, oh my God, it's really heavily retouched. Maybe there is a little bit of AI to it. I don't know. This is the beauty about art and photography, is that you can make up your mind yourself. But for me, everything that I shoot is captured in camera. So even though I do shoot digital, and you could argue that yes, I am tethered to a laptop and I am doing lots of heavy grading work and I am adding grain. And it's funny, like hearing that, you guys speak before me, because even though I shoot digitally, I try very, very hard in my grading process digitally to actually make it look like it is shot on film. So I'm kind of stripping away all of that perfection. But tradition, really simple one for me to answer. The design and play of light and the process and the connection with the talent and the team. There's a whole team. So I have a vivid memory of taking this picture of Steve and Graham, if anyone has watched Adolescence recently. And I am this close to him, but then I've got my assistants, and then I've got like the hair and makeup people, and I've got all the sides. So we're all working together and we're all trusting and creating each other to create that one image that we know that is the one. And I think one of you were talking earlier about the editing part of it. I've actually always been very, very good at this. I sometimes I'm not forced, but if I'm doing a commercial shoot, of course the client wants a lot out of you, so you shoot. I know I've got it in the first shot, but they want to see variation. So that is part of your commercial work. You have to, you're getting paid, so you have to do it. But with my editorial stuff, I took 5 shots because I knew I got it. And I'm confident enough to be like, I don't need to shoot anymore. And then I will actually say to everybody, come to the screen. This is perfect. This has just got everything. Sometimes I can't even describe my own work, but it's just a feeling. I'm like, this is it. The way that he's looking to the camera, blah, blah, blah. And everybody agrees, and they're like, great. Sometimes not everyone agrees, but, most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time they do. Tradition part, really easy. I value the craft of, or should I say the process of taking a photograph, and that will never change for me. Shooting raw in camera. And I do actually consider photography as like I am painting a picture, if I'm honest, and that every pixel is a paintbrush, and I want to know that every bit of light in that picture, or that person, or that bit of fabric, or that light moving, or whatever, has all been done in that moment in camera. It's really important for me. Okay, so let me just go through some other work actually. So this was for Empire magazine. Oh yeah, I can see the next one there. This is Lucy Boynton, if anyone has ever heard of her, for Define magazine, which is my magazine. So this is, again, there's no... my retouching is very, very, very minimal. So if I was to show you, and it's a show, actually I should have done that as part of the presentation. If I was to show you the raw versus my final graded picture, you wouldn't even tell. you wouldn't even be like, I can't even see it's retouched because it's just very minimal. There might be like a little speck of like a little hair that I think maybe I'll just take that out. But I mean, that is literally it. And it's so funny, is I get comments online so often, people are like, oh yeah, but your work's so retouched. And I'm like, I have to stop myself, that Midlands girl inside of me going, but it isn't. It isn't retouched. So I just want to do it, but I just try and stay professional and be like, it's fine, let everybody just think that it is. But I know it's not. And anyone that works with me know that it isn't. But it's hard to not react. But anyway. Kate Blanchett for The Observer, and this was quite recently. I shot this in January. So again, it really is just the play of light. Just do something really interesting, and it's really an amazing moment when you have an actor such as Kate. Obviously, she's been in so many things that we all have seen and love. And actually getting them really invested into what you're doing. And I explain to them how I'm going to light and what kind of vibe I want to do, and I love working with actors because they actually can play something and they really get into it. Almost going to go on to the modern part. But before we do that, I will just go back to myself about how important the process is to me, because I really, really love that in-person collaboration where we're bouncing ideas off everybody. This image of Twiggy, the hairstylist, originally when we were shooting it, again, I think we only did maybe 30 frames. And I knew we got it. Actually, normally it's the first shot. This was actually the last shot. But what I love about working with the whole team on a creative shoot is that when you all trust each other and you're all there, and bearing in mind this is years and years of trial and error of working with people that I know, okay, I'm not going to work with them again because I don't think that we're on the same wavelength here. I'm in a great position now where I do get to most of the time choose the people that I know that know me creatively and vice versa. But with this picture, a few frames before this picture, her hair was actually over her jumper. It didn't work. Now, for the hairstylist, him moving the hair away isn't going to benefit him because there's no hair in shot then. But what is so brilliant about him and his craft is that he knew that this picture, and I knew, because we had a discussion about it, would be more iconic if the hair down here was too messy and it was almost ruining the picture. So by removing the hair, you then kind of get the floating head aspect, and it then becomes something else, becomes more abstract. You look to her eyes more. You're not distracted by this, and that's brilliant. That is brilliant. That is because, again, he's a hairstylist. There's no hair in the picture. But he embodies, we all embody, we're all in that picture because we made that decision together. So even though we laugh now and I say, oh God, but there's no hair in the picture, it's just gone into the National Portrait Gallery. Oh great, but he is more proud of it than I am because we made it together. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but we'll move on. And it goes on to a little bit again from what Tina was saying. Of course, I love the final photographs, but I love the process of it just as much. And what I really enjoy is putting myself outside of my comfort zone constantly, of understanding when I'm meeting new people, gauging, how can I, if you meet somebody in the first 5 seconds, maybe they're not going to want me to sit down with them for an hour and talk to them. I'm not getting that vibe off them. So it's really understanding and being socially aware of the room that you're in and making those decisions very quickly, because stuff like this can make or break a shoot or your subject. But I really enjoy that. And I think as photographers, especially if you shoot people, you are people, you like people, whether you're documenting it or you're really fully in there, talking about let's do this, let's do that. Your love for meeting new people and being with people is something that again will always be part of my traditional soul, if you like.
Going to end on a gloomy background with more of the kind of monotone looks.
And I've kind of deliberately left
But is that her?
It is, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm telling you about those hats. She can still look like that.
I love it.
She can still look like
I love
that.
it. It's not really that important. Let's move on. Right, so what does modern mean to me? Right, this is the big one. So when I was thinking about putting this presentation together, I was like, what does it mean to me? I was like, what does it mean to me? And then I found myself asking myself, okay, well, what do I value other than what I've just talked about? What are the other things that I value and why? And then I really started to think, well, yes, the way that I take photographs and light and it's all raw in camera does feel very modern, very traditional to me. But the modern part are the other opportunities that you create for yourself or the way that you approach something. So it's about your idea and it's about your concept and it's about your values and who you are as a person and how you can embody that into that work. Because no machine or nobody else can do that because it's you. And that's what's great about being individuals is because we are really all individual. And in a way, I mean, I create pretty pictures for a living. I'm not going to stand here and say that there's some really emotional message to each of them attached to them. There isn't. They're beautiful pictures of people that I've, had 2 hours with, or sometimes even 5 minutes with. They go into magazines on walls or whatever. That's what they are. But it's the amount of research and the idea developing and the figuring out of how I can photograph that person completely different to how they've been photographed before. And bearing in mind, I photograph, lots of famous people, so they've been photographed so many times before, and it's really easy to just go on the internet and to just be so overwhelmed by and being obsessed with how all of the other pictures of them out there and I will do my research and I will listen to interviews that they've done, and sometimes it might even take me days to do that. But what I realised was if I started my own publication, which is defined, and this is just a little slice of a little bit of my research or what I do, putting together one of my defined cover shoots together. I feel like the way that I approach things, it's easy to just go online and just put a mood board together and be like, I just want to see, I don't know, pictures of photo dresses and people, models jumping up in the air. Great, that's what I want to do, and just show that to the team. I take it way beyond that. So I've actually, yes, okay, I do have a little mood board here, and there were a lot more references. But I mean, let's just pop that aside for a sec. I will go to the talent and I'll say, what do you want to do? Now, that to me is thinking differently, because most of the time, most photographers are like, it's more how I want to see you and what I do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's brilliant. But for me, when I really sat down and thought, what do I want to embody into this publication? And I wanted to do things differently. And I did it because I wanted to do things differently. I love shooting for Vogue and I love shooting for all these big editors in these magazines. I continue to. But this, I wanted it to be different. So I will go to the talent or the talent's reps, because normally you've got to go through a few people, but that's fine. What do you want to do? How are you feeling in this time of your life? What vibe do you want to do? Anything. It could just be a word, anything. And it's funny, I've got a casting director me and her will reach out to we'll book somebody and then we'll start having these conversations. And it's amazing how in the beginning they were like, oh, but what do you want them to do? And it's like, just give me, I will build a concept. I would like to show an essence of you into this. Let's do something that you're really excited about. So when I build an idea, you're already invested even before you've walked into this room, because I know that you kind of know that I'm going to embody a part of what you really enjoy and what your desires. So that I find really exciting. So that top line is her team. This is Simone Ashley's team. In terms of vibe, she was thinking Bond girl aesthetics. I was like, okay, cool, that's great. Okay, so she wants to be empowered. She wants to look a bit sexy. She wants to, she mentioned Halle Berry as well. I was like, great, let's do that. So I will then take it to a whole different level, and then I'll build almost a character and a story, thinking of what I can pre-vision that Simone is thinking in her head, I will then build a character and a whole story around it. And again, these are just tiny little screen grabs of that. And then I'll work with a stylist and I'll say, okay, I've got this character, I've got this mood board, this is what Simone thinks, this is kind of the vibe that she wants to do, so I've taken it to this level. And then she will then look at the designer collections at that time, and then we'll edit down a couple of looks that we feel are key. Then we present that on the day to Simone, and then she kind of chooses what she likes and what she doesn't. So it really is a collaboration. I even go to the point of even making sure I've got the playlist right. How many times has everybody gone on a shoot and they're just like, oh God, just put some music on. I do it all the time still, don't get me wrong. But oh my God, the last 5 shoots that I've done where I have really thought about not only what the talent likes and what's going to get them feeling good, but what actually suits what we're doing. It changes everything. It's amazing. So again, this is just like I'll do sketches. I stop myself from going any further than just I need to do a little bit of mood boarding because otherwise, sometimes the talent and the rest of the team start getting freaked out because they're like, oh my God, I've got no idea what you're thinking. So I have to do that. But then I'll take that away and then I'll do, I'm not very good at sketching. I used to be when I was younger. I'll go away and I've got a whole book full of sketches and then I'll actually just sit there with my eyes closed and I'll think about everything that I've just done and I'll think about light. And I think about shaping the light, and I think, how can I make them look differently? How can I make it look interesting? How can I make it look abstract? How can I go back to those old tradition ways in a way? So yeah, this is really messy, so I do apologise, but this is literally, I've never shown these before, ever. This is just my sketchbook. I still feel like a student a lot of the time, but we're all going to be students because we're all going to continue to learn. But I'll do like a little sketch of how I think that I'm going to light it. Again, things might change on the day because I want to make sure that whoever I'm photographing, I keep their skin tones true to what it is. It's really important to me, things like that. Yeah, I'll sketch out my ideas. I'll do my lighting list, but then I have plan A, B, and C. So when I'm on set, I can very quickly change it. I do a lot for BAFTA, and I did a portfolio for Vanity Fair earlier on in the year, which was at an event with talent, famous people. But I had like 30 seconds, maybe a minute max with each of them. But I want it to look like it could be on the cover of Vanity Fair. So, I have to put so much planning into it. And I think those experiences have really helped me evolve into what I'm doing for my own magazine in a way. And then I decided I'm not going to just start a magazine and just do pictures. How cool would it be? And this is just me being literally... sometimes I do actually just wake up and I'm like, oh, how cool would it be that if I did this? And it's so easy to just not actually pursue that. Sometimes you get a crazy idea and the fear kicks in and you think, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to send in that photograph. I'm not going to ask that person. I don't know what happens to me, but something comes over me, and I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to see what happens. And I have failed a lot of times, don't get me wrong. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to interview them. I'm going to do the shoot, and I'm going to sit down with them. I'm really arty. I love sketching. I'm not great at it. I'm going to make it into just something really. There's a really lovely feeling after a shoot where all of you are just like, and you're really proud of yourselves. You know that you've just done some great body of work. So I'll sit down now. So I sat down with Simone, built some questions, and then interviewed her for the YouTube channel part of Defined, which is the picture on the right. And it just helps us just to get to know each other a little bit more. And it's really lovely when I'm editing the work afterwards, how much that actually helps in a way, because I might actually just decide to choose a different photograph because of the conversation that I've had with her. So it's a really, really lovely flow of way of working editorially. So did I go back? Oh yeah, I did that one. So anyway, this is the result. So this is just a little bit of work here. And then another one. I'm completely lost. I don't know why I'm looking at these because I'm just completely lost where I am now. I told you I talk too much. Lashana Lynch is also for Defined. Right, okay, so I thought, I mean, I've got so much to say, but so when I was thinking about, again, the modern part, I was like, okay, these are my top ones, and this is what these are my values, and this is what I believe in. So co-creation and meaningful collaboration, which is what I've talked about. Empowerment through the creative process. So I believe that if you walk into a room, and everyone does look at the photographer most of the time, if you walk into a room and you're feeling a bit you're not really feeling that confident, everybody else is going to feel the same way. So even if like my 3-year-old's screaming throughout the night and I've got a big shoot the next day and I'm like on the way and I'm like, I'm so tired, I will just find the energy to be like, it's not like I'm being fake, I'm just being really blatantly honest, that I know that I have to be in a position that I'm holding everybody up here and everyone's going to mirror their energy off mine. So it's really important that you empower people through the creative process, because if you feel good and they feel good, and you're on a grounded, beautiful, creative level with each other, then you're going to get really good results. Whereas you get with that one person with a massive ego, you cope with it and it's fine, but, those people can really hinder a shoot sometimes. So I have to try and, I keep my eye on them. Anyway, unique shoot experience. What I mean by that is everything I've just said, really. It's like how you're interacting with people, what music you're playing, I don't know, all these little elements really, really matter. And I always say to my assistant, and I was like this when I was assisting, the person that's making the tea is the most important person, because if you're offering somebody a drink as soon as they walk in, that sets off a good tone. It's really, really important. So even if you get someone that works with you for the first day, if all that you're doing is making sure people are hydrated and offering them tea, that's a huge tick. I'm not. They don't need to impress me. I'm just saying that's really important. And I also believed that was important. So when I first started working for Rankin, I can't remember if I did it with you, Andy. Can you remember? Did I offer you tea? I hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to need to go back on everything that I've just said. Anyway, I can't believe I was just talking about making tea. But, all these things, they really matter. Emotion over perfection. Yes, sometimes I am one of those photographers that will scroll on social media and laugh at a video of a photographer that's changing the blue slightly in the blacks or something, and he's sweating because only he can notice the difference, but nobody else is going to notice that, those colours are slightly to it. So I am that person sometimes, but I also, one of my biggest lessons, and this is again, I think sometimes you've got to think forward thinking, is to just I have to tell myself to just stop. The picture is fine, Rachel. The picture is perfect enough. Nobody is going to notice that tiny little thing that's missing from it. No one other than you. And you have to go with your gut. So I'm looking through an edit and I keep going back to the same picture. And I know that one, again, I can't explain it, but it's just given me something. Got to go with that one. Even though maybe I think the light's better in that one, I've got to go for that one because I feel the emotion over perfection always wins for me. And yeah, honouring timeless craftsmanship. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is the modern part for me is thinking differently about the role of the photographer and what I can bring to it, and that I'm not just taking the pictures. I'm always thinking outside the box, doing things differently. And that you have to do things outside of your comfort zone and really put yourself out there to evolve and to move on and to grow. It's so easy to stay in your comfort zone. I'm always putting myself outside my comfort zone. Even now, I don't do lots of talks, but I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Originally, it was going to be a chat between me and Andy, and he was like, do you mind doing it around? I was like, yeah, I can do it. It's fine. So my question to you is, obviously, I know we're not going to have an answer, but I really hope this has inspired a little bit of something in everyone's minds, whether you're into photography or not, but just to really think beyond just that click of the button. What do you value? What do you really value? Are you creating from fear or freedom? In my early days, there wasn't so much fear. I needed to survive. I needed to, pay rent and, buy clothes for myself. Otherwise, I'll be walking around the streets naked. All those things, all that fear. It's like, okay, so I need to. I'm getting all this advice from all these different people, which were a lot of them were wrong, if I'm honest. That, oh yes, you need to be shooting this, and this, and this to get commercial work. Part of it is true, yes. Obviously, you need the commercial work to live and survive. But you get to decide what you're showing people. I wish somebody had told me that when I was starting out. Oh no, sorry. Oh no, Andy, you did probably, but I've forgotten. Okay. I knew I would stab myself in the foot. Anyway, no, yeah. But you know what I mean. It's like it's like it is hard to get away from some things sometimes because everything is online, and if you're working with a team and maybe it's a shoot that you particularly don't want to promote, not because you're not proud of it, but yeah, we do live in a world that if you want to go into my little slice of the photography industry, which is that famous faces, fashion or whatever. You've got to be really. You can't walk into a portfolio meeting and be like, oh yeah, I do still life, animals and fashion. Oh yeah, so here you go. They know. Then you need to be niche for them to take you seriously. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've had lots and lots of hundreds or almost thousands of meetings. So what would it look like if you redefined what modern means for you? Again, thinking differently, working differently. I had this business coach last year, and he said something really, it's a quote from a book. I think it is actually the title of a book, so maybe look it up. There's something that I've printed really big on my wall that I look at every day, and it's so powerful. And it's what got you here will not get you there. So if I've got these goals to achieve and I want to get there, well, if I continue working the way that I'm working, as in, I'll do new business, Tuesdays or whatever. If I'm working the same way week by week, then I'm not going to get there. Does that make sense? And what would my experience be if I worked with you? So I want people to answer that question for me. I want them to be like, okay, well, she's got loads of energy. She makes me feel great. Like, oh my God, she came up with this character. Oh God, we had this, she's really down to earth. I felt really like a part of the creative process. That's what I want people to answer that question about me. And then I think I'm going to the end of it. I did it. Stop chasing what you think you should create and start creating what you believe in. And I'll end with that. There you go.